We were hearing this week that Iran is just weeks away from building a nuclear weapon. And so we need to take out the nuclear sites. We need to effect regime change in Iran. I feel like I've been hearing that Iran is weeks away from a nuclear weapon for at least 25 years.
Yes, at verbatim at least a decade, and for longer in substance, yes.
Is Iran weeks away from building a nuclear weapon? Does Iran want a nuclear weapon? Will Iran get a nuclear weapon? What is the truth about Iran?
Iran does not want a nuclear weapon. Iran's neighbors, like the Saudis and others in the Gulf, do not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Iran's major ally, Russia, does not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And Iran doesn't want a nuclear weapon. But Iran does not want to be defeated militarily by Israel, does not want to be bombed to hell by Israel, and does not want to be sanctioned to death economically by the United States, which the U.S. has been doing now for endless years. So Iran has said for 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, unequivocally, we don't want a nuclear weapon. We want an agreement with you. We want you to lift sanctions, and we want a no nuclear system, and with all verifications and monitoring and safety as well. We want to have our nuclear power plants. We want our own military. We're not going to disarm in a region where Israel attacks every country in the region, and by the way, where we have other enemies as well. So we are not going to unilaterally disarm in our region. But we do not want a nuclear weapon. The truth is that has been known for a dozen years in detail at the highest levels. And
so what's the problem? That seems like a pretty good basis for an agreement.
The problem, there is no problem in reaching a sound agreement. And by the way, with the nuclear power plants, which are in dozens of countries, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, has successfully monitored and set up absolutely rigorous monitoring, and Iran is open to that and has said so repeatedly, and has said it would work with the neighbors on the fuel supply chains and all the rest. There is no obstacle to this. And I think we're close to an agreement with Iran, in fact, thanks to President Trump, because Netanyahu says, no, we need to bomb the hell out of them. We need to defeat them like we defeated Saddam and Assad and Gaddafi. We need to take out this evil regime. That's his line.
So it's not about nukes, what you're saying. You're saying it's not about nukes, it's about regime change.
I think for sure. And that's been true all along.
Iran, so why not just say that? Why lie? Why does Fox News tell me every single, not that I have a TV, but I hear Fox News is telling everyone every day they're moments away from a nuclear. We cannot allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Day after day after day. Why not just say no?
I think, by the way, that's true, and Iran would agree with that. Okay, yes, that's what we're saying.
So, but if you went on television right now, if you were back on your old perch on Morning Joe, and you said actually Iran doesn't want a nuclear weapon, they would accuse you immediately of being an agent of Iran.
They might. Because maybe someone would tell them in their little earpiece to say that, because that's how it works.
But you're saying that's true. I mean, you're acting like that's like a non-controversial statement. No, Iran doesn't want to bomb. They've said they don't. They just don't want to get attacked.
They have said for years, remove our sanctions, normalize relations, stop trying to overthrow us, tell your bulldog Israel to stop threatening us with war. And we can have perfectly normal relations, and we don't want a nuclear weapon. It's a much bigger headache than we want. We don't want it.
Boy, that is not the story that any American news channel tells ever.
I'm shocked. We live in the world of narratives. For many years, for many years, the Iranians were asking, how do we reach the Biden White House? How do we want to open up channels? We want to negotiate. Of course, they wouldn't talk to them. It was, we know the president now, I mean, we knew then, but now it's confirmed. The president wasn't in any shape to talk to anybody. And the administration was the biggest foreign policy failure of one can imagine. But the Iranians have been saying all along, we want to negotiate. And as soon as President Trump was elected, at least I got inquiries. Do you know anyone in the White House? Do you know anyone in the president's team? How can we make contact? That's not the behavior you make if you're relentlessly trying to go to a nuclear bomb.
So what about the story that you hear endlessly that Iran is planning to nuke the United States, that that's on their agenda?
Huh?
Yeah, right.
Huh?
So you consider that like insane?
I consider that so bewildering. If a grown-up says that, we need to have a long heart-to-heart talk about a lot of facts. But that is simply the most absurd imaginable idea.
So no matter how you feel about Donald Trump, it's hard to deny that his second term has been a whirlwind. It's amazing how fast this administration is advancing its agenda, deporting illegal aliens, slashing government waste, an entirely new trade strategy. No one has ever seen anything like it. They are not messing around. Now, many people are thrilled by this fast start, but it's going to take a lot more than this to achieve the ultimate goal. And that's why our friends at the Heritage Foundation are mobilizing supporters, patriots across the country, to support this administration and the broader conservative movement, and they need your help to do that. You can go to heritage.org/survey to complete their national survey on Donald Trump's second term agenda. What you tell them will help their team work with the White House to make the president's campaign promises a reality. I used to work at Heritage 35 years ago. Gave me my first job. I've always been grateful for that. Heritage is not like every other think tank in D.C., almost all of which are part of the problem. Heritage is fighting the problem. I can say that. Go to heritage.org/survey to help them fill out the survey. Heritage.org/survey.
Iran, by the way, is a civilization of, by usual count, 5,200 years. Persia is the usual name given
oldest
for
continuous in the world.
Iran. Yes, it's arguably the longest continuous civilization, though many jump up and say, no, we are. Maybe the Georgians say it or the Egyptians say it. So I won't get into arguments among my friends, except this is actually a great civilization that has lasted for 5,000 years. They're not going to bring it to an end by bombing the United States and having Persia or Iran disappear from the world map, literally, physically, by atom, by such an attack. So it's not.
So why are we going through all this? I mean, the full attention of huge parts of the U.S. government, billions and billions and billions and trillions over the years of American tax dollars have gone to responding to this threat. We have bases all around the region, all focused on Iran, which we maintain, including a huge one in Qatar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of this effort by the United States focused on this Iranian threat that you claim doesn't exist.
Remember that Iran was first of all, Iran was a democratic country in 1953. Mm-hmm. The prime minister at the time, named Mossadegh, had this absolutely outlandish idea, which was that the oil under their ground belonged to Iranians. This was a very weird idea because the British knew it belonged to the British. The Americans expected that it belonged to the Americans in the new age. And so CIA and MI6 overthrew the Iranian democracy. Then we installed a police state known as the Shah of Iran and Savak, its supposed intelligence and enforcement authority from 1953 to 1978, when the Shah was dying of cancer, and he was a hated figure in Iran. Jimmy Carter was talked into taking him into into the United States, and that provoked the reaction and the taking of hostages of American hostages in Iran. And the Iranian Revolution was taken badly by the United States, but Iran had been our fortress. And why Iran? Because this was part of our anti-Soviet effort. Right. This was part of our Cold War effort. So Iran turned from police state ally to America's foe and Israel's foe. And by the way, in 1980, the United States, and 1981 in particular, the United States armed Saddam Hussein massively to go kill Iranians. So we told Iraq, go invade Iran. And we supported an absolutely bloody, disastrous war between Iraq and Iran. We loved it. It was the two scorpions fighting in the bottle, killing each other.
Fought in part by children.
On American on the American dime. So our position towards Iran has been an aggression since 1953. Actually, remember, the American deep state doesn't care about any other people at all. Whatever happens to them, it doesn't care about the Ukrainian people. It doesn't care about the people we're, quote, saving. It cares about whatever fight it's in. The fight might be against Russia, in which case the Ukrainians are used. The fight might be for Israel, in which case some other jihadists are used, whatever.
Or the Kurds.
The Kurds or whoever is convenient at the time. So Iran is kind of amazingly incurring this for 75 years, and for the last dozen years saying, peace, come on, make peace. President Trump is close to it right now. Again, as in all the other cases we have been discussing, the deep state narrative is deep. It's long-standing. It's not shallow. It's pretty much empty. It's pretty much concocted, but it's deep. And so in order to overcome the deep state, in this case, it's the Israel or Zionist lobby, because it's got a pretty complicated domestic heritage and base. In order to overcome what has been 20 years of wars of choice in the Middle East and to stop them, it requires a lot of political capital and attention by President Trump.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.